The envelope slipped from his jacket pocket like a guilty secret seeking freedom. I shouldn't have picked it up. Shouldn't have noticed the feminine curve of the handwriting, or the faint trace of perfume that definitely wasn't mine. But I did, and now everything I thought I knew about my life with Eli was unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. My name is Journey, and I've spent the last 3 years believing I had the perfect marriage. Funny how one piece of paper can shatter that illusion. Babe, have you seen my blue tie? Eli called from upstairs. His voice carried that casual warmth that used to make my heart flutter. Now it made my stomach clench. No, I managed, my fingers trembling as I unfolded the letter. Still looking. The words jumped out at me like accusations, my dearest Eli, and, I miss the way you hold me, and worst of all, once you leave her. We can finally start our life together. Each sentence was a knife, twisting deeper. Found it. His footsteps thundered down the stairs. I shoved the letter back into the envelope, but couldn't bring myself to return it to his pocket. Instead, I clutched it behind my back, feeling the paper crinkle against my sweating palms. Eli appeared in the doorway, adjusting his tie with practiced fingers. He looked exactly like the man I married, tall, confident, with that crooked smile that made everyone trust him instantly. But now I saw something else, something that had always been there, hiding behind those warm brown eyes. "Everything okay?" he asked, frowning slightly. "You look pale." "Who's Vivian?" The name hung between us like smoke. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, so brief I might have missed it if I hadn't been watching so carefully. "Vivian?" He laughed, but it wasn't quite right. "Where did you hear that name?" I held up the envelope. "She writes beautiful letters. Very passionate." His face hardened, transformed. The mask slipped, just for a second, and I saw something cold and calculating beneath. Then his features softened again, concerned husband back in place. "Journey, honey, that's not what you think. Vivian's an old friend from work. She's going through a rough time. Does she always sign her letters with a lipstick kiss?" My voice stayed steady, surprising me. "Do all your work friends talk about starting a new life with you?" He crossed the room in 3 quick strides, snatching the envelope from my hand. "You had no right to read my private correspondence." "Private correspondence?" I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign in my throat. "Is that what we're calling love letters now? You're being hysterical." His tone was different now, patronizing. "This is exactly why I couldn't tell you about helping her. You always overreact." My hand moved to my stomach, still flat but carrying our secret. 6 weeks along, and I hadn't told him yet. Thank God. "How long?" I asked. "There's nothing to discuss." He tucked the letter into his breast pocket, smoothing it flat. "I'm going to be late for work. We'll talk about this tonight, when you're thinking more clearly." As he turned to leave, I caught his reflection in the hallway mirror. His face had already settled back into its usual pleasant mask, but his hands were clenched into fists at his sides. "Eli." I called after him. He paused at the door, not turning around. "I'm not the one who needs to think clearly." The door closed behind him with a quiet click that somehow felt more final than a slam. I stood there, listening to his car start up, pull out of the driveway, fade away down the street. Then I ran to the bathroom and threw up everything I'd eaten for breakfast. Though I couldn't tell if it was the morning sickness or the realization that my entire marriage was built on lies. When I finally stopped retching, I looked up at myself in the bathroom mirror. My face was pale, eyes red-rimmed, but something else was there too. Something hard and determined. Eli thought he could dismiss me, manipulate me, make me doubt myself. He had no idea what was coming. Grandmother Rose's kitchen always smelled like fresh bread and safety. Today, it just made my stomach turn. I gripped my mug of ginger tea, watching steam curl into nothing while I tried to find the right words. "Something's eating at you, child." Rose's hands never stopped kneading dough. But her eyes fixed on me with that penetrating look that had seen through my lies since childhood. Spill it. I found a letter. The words came out small, like admitting them might make them more real. In Eli's pocket. From someone named Vivian. Her hands stilled in the dough. And he's having an affair. My voice cracked. He's planning to leave me. Rose wiped her hands on her apron and sat across from me. She didn't reach out to comfort me, didn't offer empty platitudes. Instead, she asked, "What evidence do you have besides the letter? Isn't that enough? For your heart?" "Yes." "For what comes next?" "No." She tapped her fingers on the table, leaving tiny flower prints. Men like Eli, they're careful. They cover their tracks. One letter isn't enough to nail him to the wall. I stared at her. You don't seem surprised. I've watched that man smile with his mouth but not his eyes for 3 years. She stood, returning to her bread. The question isn't what I suspected. It's what you're going to do about it. My phone buzzed. A text from Eli, working late tonight. Don't wait up. Something cold settled in my chest. I'm going to follow him. Rose's hands paused again. That's dangerous ground, Journey. More dangerous than living with someone who's been lying to my face. I showed her the text. He's never worked late on a Tuesday before. She studied the message, then me. If you're doing this, you need a plan. And backup. She reached for her phone. I'm calling Marcus. Your neighbor. The retired detective. He owes me for 20 years of Sunday dinners. She was already dialing. He'll keep his distance, make sure you're safe. 2 hours later, I sat in my car outside the Blue Room Cafe, watching Eli help a tall blonde out of his car. She wore a red dress that caught the streetlights like blood. My hands shook as I snapped pictures with my phone. They chose a corner table by the window. I could see everything, how he pulled out her chair, how his hand lingered on her shoulder. How she leaned in close to whisper something that made him laugh. I'd forgotten he could laugh like that. My phone buzzed. Marcus, I've got eyes on them. You don't need to see more. But I couldn't look away. Through the glass, I watched Eli reach across the table and take her hand. The same hands that had held mine this morning, that had touched my face, that had promised forever. She, Vivian, smiled at something he said, and it hit me, she probably thought she was special. Probably thought she was the only one. Just like I had. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Rose. Come home, baby girl. You've seen enough. But I hadn't. Because right then, Eli stood up and pulled Vivian into his arms. They swayed slightly, like dancing to music I couldn't hear, and when he kissed her, it wasn't quick or secretive. It was the kiss of a man who thought he was alone with the woman he loved. I tasted blood and realized I'd been biting my lip. The pregnancy nausea rolled through me again, but this time I welcomed it. The physical pain was better than watching my marriage die in Technicolor through a cafe window. My phone lit up with another text from Marcus. He's got a room key. Royal Hotel across the street. Want me to follow? No, I typed back. I've seen enough. I started my car, hands steady now. The hurt was crystallizing into something harder, something that felt like purpose. Eli thought he was so careful, so clever. He had no idea I'd just watched him sign his own destruction warrant. Rose was waiting on her porch when I pulled up, 2 glasses of whiskey on the table beside her. You can't drink, she said as I sat down, but I figured you could use the company while I do. I need more than whiskey, Grandma. I pulled out my phone, showing her the pictures. I need a war council. She smiled, and for the first time, I saw where I got my capacity for vengeance. Then let's plan a war. The photos landed on our kitchen table like bombs. Eli stared at them, his face a masterpiece of calculated confusion that might have fooled me 3 days ago. Now I saw the micro-expressions, the tightening around his eyes, the slight clench of his jaw. You followed me? His voice was soft, dangerous. You lied to me. I kept my distance, the marble counter between us. Rose's warning echoed in my head, never corner a desperate man. These photos. He shuffled through them slowly, deliberately. They don't show what you think. Really? Because I think they show you kissing Vivian outside the Royal Hotel. I think they show you checking in together at 9:43 Tuesday night. My hands gripped the counter edge. I think they show exactly what I think. He stood, and something in his posture made my skin crawl. You've lost your mind, Journey. Spying on me? Taking pictures? This is pathological. Gaslighting doesn't work when there's photographic evidence. His laugh was sharp, cruel. Evidence of what? A business dinner? A friendly goodbye? You're acting insane. He stepped around the counter. Is this about the pregnancy hormones? Making you paranoid? The air left my lungs. How did you? I found the test in the bathroom trash. Another step closer. Were you planning to tell me about my child, or was that just another secret you're keeping? Like you kept Vivian a secret? His hand shot out, gripping my arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but firm enough to remind me he could. You need to be very careful right now. Think about what you're risking, our marriage, our family, our future. I tried to pull away, but his fingers tightened. Let go of me. Not until you listen. His other hand cupped my face, gentle in a way that made my stomach turn. I love you, Journey. Whatever you think you saw, whatever stories you're telling yourself, they're not real. You're hormonal, emotional, seeing threats where there aren't any. Then explain the letter. What letter? I reached into my pocket with my free hand, produced the hotel receipt I'd found in his jacket that morning. This one. From this morning. Different hotel, same Vivian. His mask slipped. Just for a second, but long enough for me to see the rage underneath. His grip tightened until I gasped. You're hurting me. You're hurting us, he snarled. Digging through my things, following me, making accusations. Do you have any idea what this could do to my reputation? To my career? Your reputation? I laughed, high and hysterical. That's what you're worried about? Everything I've built, everything we have, you'd throw it away over paranoid delusions? His voice dropped to a whisper. Think very carefully about your next move, Journey. Some bells can't be unrung. The thread hung between us, crystal clear. I thought about Rose's words, men like Eli are careful. They cover their tracks. I forced myself to meet his eyes. You're right. I'm sorry. His grip loosened slightly. You are? Yes. I let my shoulders slump, made my voice small. The pregnancy. It's making me crazy. Seeing things that aren't there. Can we forget this happened? The mask slid back into place. He pulled me into an embrace that felt like chains. Of course, baby. Of course we can. Over his shoulder, I watched my phone screen light up with a text from Rose. Did you do it? I had. While he'd been focused on the photos, I'd sent copies of everything, the letters, the hotel receipts, the pictures, to Rose, to Marcus, to my lawyer. A digital paper trail, just in case. I love you, Eli murmured into my hair. I closed my eyes, remembering how those words used to make me feel safe. Now they sounded like a prison sentence. I know, I whispered back, and felt him relax against me, thinking he'd won. He had no idea I'd already packed a bag, hidden at Rose's house. No idea that tomorrow, while he was at work, I'd be gone. No idea that his carefully constructed world was about to implode. Some bells can't be unrung. He was right about that, at least. Eli's laptop password was our wedding date. 3 years of marriage, and he still hadn't changed it. I almost laughed at the irony as I scrolled through his emails, my hands trembling in the pre-dawn darkness of his home office. The first few folders revealed nothing unusual: work contracts, family photos, tax documents. Then I found a folder labeled investment properties. Inside was a trail of bank statements and transfer records to an offshore account. My throat went dry. The numbers were staggering, hundreds of thousands of dollars, siphoned away month by month. Our shared accounts had been draining like a slow bleed, and I'd never noticed. My phone buzzed. "Liam, you need to hurry. Rose says Eli's meeting ended early." I downloaded everything to my USB drive, careful to leave no trace. As I closed the laptop, a final email caught my eye, a confirmation for 2 one-way tickets to the Cayman Islands, dated for next month. The floor creaked behind me. "Looking for something specific?" Eli's voice froze me in place. I turned slowly, the USB drive heavy in my pocket. He stood in the doorway, still in his suit from work, his expression unreadable. "Couldn't sleep," I said, forcing a smile. "Thought I'd catch up on some bills." "At 4 in the morning?" He stepped into the room. "In my office?" I was worried about our finances. Not entirely a lie. "With the baby coming." "Stop." His voice was soft, almost gentle. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." He reached past me and opened the laptop. A few clicks revealed my digital footprints, the accessed folders, the downloaded files. "You know," he said, "I actually believed you yesterday. Thought you'd finally come to your senses." He laughed quietly. "My pregnant, paranoid wife. Except you're not paranoid, are you? You're calculating." I edged toward the door. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The offshore account?" His eyes never left mine. "The tickets? Did you really think I wouldn't have safeguards in place?" My phone buzzed again. Eli's hand shot out, snatching it before I could react. Liam's message glowed on the screen. Something dark passed over Eli's face. "Who's Liam?" "A friend. A friend who's helping you spy on me." He tossed the phone onto his desk. "Who knows about this little investigation of yours?" "Everyone." I lifted my chin. "I sent copies of everything to my lawyer this morning." His laugh was sharp enough to cut. "No, you didn't. Because there's nothing to send. Check your USB drive." My hand went to my pocket. The drive felt wrong, lighter, plastic instead of metal. "Amazing what you can buy at hotel gift shops," he said. "Including identical USB drives. I switched them when I hugged you yesterday." The room seemed to tilt. He'd known. All along, he'd known. "The money's already gone," he continued. "Transferred last night. Vivian's handling the arrangements. Our savings." "My savings." His smile was almost pitying. "Everything's in my name, Journey. The house, the cars, the accounts." "What exactly did you think you were going to do?" I thought of Rose's warnings, of Liam waiting nearby, of the baby growing inside me. "I'm leaving you." "No." He moved between me and the door. "You're not. You can't stop me." "Actually, I can. See, tomorrow morning, my lawyer will be filing a motion for emergency custody of our unborn child, citing your unstable behavior. The stalking, the paranoid accusations, the theft of private financial documents." He shrugged. "No judge will let you leave the state." My hands curled into fists. "You wouldn't. Try me." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Or we can forget this happened. Start fresh. Be a family." The choice hung between us like a noose. Stay and survive, or fight and lose everything. My phone buzzed one final time on his desk. Rose's message flashed briefly, "Remember who you are." I straightened my spine, met his eyes, and made my choice. The war was just beginning. Liam's apartment smelled like coffee and safety, but I couldn't stop pacing. 3 days since I'd left Eli, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with texts from unknown numbers. Each one made my hands shake a little more. "You should eat something." Liam pushed a plate of toast across the counter. "The baby needs it." The mention of the baby made my stomach clench. Eli's custody threat echoed in my head, a constant reminder of what I stood to lose. "I found something," Liam said, sliding his laptop toward me. "About Nathaniel Blake." My fingers stilled on the counter. "Eli's friend?" "Look at the transfer records." The screen showed banking documents, large sums moving between accounts. Nathaniel's signature was on all of them, authorizing transfers from Eli's business accounts to offshore holdings. "He's been helping Eli hide the money," I whispered. "More than that." Liam pulled up another document. "He's been documenting everything. Creating a paper trail." "Why would he?" A knock at the door cut me off. We both froze. "Journey?" Nathaniel's voice carried through the wood. "I know you're in there. We need to talk." Liam moved toward the door, but I caught his arm. "Wait." I grabbed my phone, started recording. "Let him in." Nathaniel looked exhausted, his usual polished appearance replaced by stubble and wrinkled clothes. His eyes darted between Liam and me. "You shouldn't be here," Liam said. "Neither should she." Nathaniel ran a hand through his hair. "Eli's filing the custody papers tomorrow morning. How convenient that you're here to warn me." My voice was steady, despite my racing heart. "Like you warned him about the USB drive?" "That's not." He stopped, noticing my phone. "Are you recording this?" "Insurance." I held his gaze. "Like the paper trail you've been creating." Something shifted in his expression. "You found the transfers. Why document everything if you were helping him?" "Because I needed proof." He pulled out his own phone, showed us an email chain. "Eli's been embezzling from the company for years. Using my authorization codes to move money around. If it all falls apart, I'm the one who goes to prison." Liam stepped closer to me. "Why tell us this now?" "Because tomorrow isn't just about custody papers." Nathaniel's voice dropped. "He's planning to transfer everything, all the money, all the assets, through a shell company. Once it's done, there's no tracking it. And you'll take the fall," I finished. He nodded. "Unless." "Unless what?" "Unless we stop him tonight." Nathaniel pulled out a USB drive, a real one this time. "Everything's here. Account numbers, transfer records, emails planning the whole thing. Enough to put him away for fraud." My hands curled into fists. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm not the only one he's planning to destroy." He met my eyes. "Check your email. He's already submitted documentation about your mental instability to the medical board. Once those custody papers are filed, your career as a counselor is over." The room tilted slightly. I grabbed the counter for support, felt Liam's hand steady my elbow. "You're asking me to help the man who betrayed Eli?" I asked Nathaniel. "I'm asking you to help yourself." He set the USB drive on the counter. "Tomorrow morning, it'll be too late for both of us." My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. But this time, the message was different, a photo of Rose's house, taken from across the street, with the caption, "Choose wisely." I showed it to Liam, watched his face darken. "He's threatening your grandmother now?" Nathaniel asked quietly. I picked up the USB drive, felt its weight in my palm. The choice crystallized: wait for Eli's next move and lose everything, or strike first and risk everything. "If we do this," I said, We do it my way. Nathaniel nodded. Whatever you need. Then call Vivian. I straightened my spine, felt the familiar fire of purpose returning. Tell her to meet us in an hour. It's time she learned what kind of man she's really dealing with. The baby kicked, as if in agreement. For the first time in days, I smiled. Game on, Eli. The charity gala sparkled with false promises, just like my husband. I watched from across the ballroom as Eli worked the crowd, his charm turned up to maximum wattage. Every smile, every handshake was another brick in the wall of lies I was about to demolish. He's making his speech in 10 minutes, Nathaniel murmured, appearing at my elbow with 2 champagne glasses. One sparkling cider, one real. Vivian's in position. I nodded, touching my earpiece. Liam. Security feeds are looped, his voice crackled. You're invisible to the cameras. My hand drifted to my stomach, the slight bump hidden by the flowing black dress. The baby kicked, as if sensing my anxiety. Journey. Vivian's voice in my ear was tight. He's coming your way. I turned, and there he was. Eli's smile didn't quite reach his eyes as he approached. You shouldn't be here, he said softly, taking my arm. His fingers dug into my skin. Think about the baby. I am. I pulled away. That's why I'm here. His face hardened. The custody papers are ready. One scene, one hint of instability, and... Ladies and gentlemen. The MC's voice boomed through the speakers. Please welcome our host, Eli Parker. Eli's grip tightened for a moment before he released me. Don't do anything stupid. I watched him stride to the podium, all confidence and charm. The crowd fell silent as he began his speech about corporate responsibility and family values. Now, I whispered into my mic. The large screen behind Eli flickered. His voice faltered as financial records replaced the corporate logo, transfers, offshore accounts, falsified documents. His face drained of color as his own signature appeared, damning him with every pixel. What is this? Someone in the crowd demanded. Vivian emerged from the shadows, her red dress a slash of accusation. Tell them, Eli. Tell them about the money you promised me. The life we planned together. The room erupted in whispers. Eli's mask slipped, revealing something dangerous underneath. This is ridiculous, he laughed, but it sounded hollow. My wife is clearly unstable. Your wife, Nathaniel stepped forward, has proof of everything. Including how you set me up to take the fall for your embezzlement. More documents appeared on screen. Emails. Bank statements. Hotel receipts. Eli's eyes found mine across the room, and for a moment, I saw raw hatred there. Then he smiled. Journey, he said into the microphone, his voice gentle. Sweetheart. Everyone here knows about your mental health struggles. The paranoid accusations. The stalking. The whispers changed tone. Sympathetic glances turned my way. Show them, I told Liam. Nothing happened. Liam. Static crackled in my ear. Then silence. Eli's smile widened. Security, he called, please escort my wife out. She needs help. 2 guards appeared beside me. I reached for my phone to show the evidence we'd gathered, but it was dead. Completely dead. Looking for this? Eli held up a small device. Signal jammer. Amazing what money can buy. He turned to the crowd. I'm so sorry you all had to witness this. My wife's pregnancy has been difficult. Hands gripped my arms. I struggled, but the guards were gentle, professional, making me look exactly as unstable as Eli claimed. The evidence, I started. Has been dealt with, Eli cut me off smoothly. Nathaniel. I turned to find Nathaniel gone. Vivian too. The screen showed only the corporate logo again, as if nothing had happened. Journey. Rose's voice carried across the room as she pushed through the crowd. Child, what have you done? The betrayal in her eyes was the final blow. She believed him. They all believed him. As the guards led me out, I caught Eli's reflection in the ballroom's mirrors. For a split second, his mask dropped completely, showing the triumph beneath. He'd won. He'd taken everything, my reputation, my credibility, my support system. But he'd forgotten one thing. I touched my stomach again, feeling the baby move. Eli had taught me how to lie, how to manipulate, how to destroy. Now it was time to show him exactly how well I'd learned those lessons. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a whole new game. The storage unit door rattled open, revealing Eli among stacked boxes of evidence, everything he thought he'd destroyed at the gala. His face flickered between shock and rage as I stepped inside. How did you find this? He demanded. Nathaniel wasn't the only one keeping records. I touched my phone in my pocket, still recording. Though I have to thank Vivian for the location. His laugh was sharp, dangerous. Vivian? She's halfway to the Caymans by now. Actually, she's at the FBI field office. I stayed near the door, watching his hands. Turns out, she doesn't appreciate being set up as your fall guy either. You're bluffing. Check your offshore accounts. He pulled out his phone, fingers flying across the screen. I watched the color drain from his face as he realized everything was gone. What did you do? Me? Nothing. I smiled. Vivian, though? She's very good with computers. And very, very angry. He lunged forward, but I was ready. The taser in my pocket sent him stumbling back, cursing. Careful, I said. Wouldn't want to hurt your unborn child, would you? His eyes narrowed. There is no baby, is there? Just another manipulation. Oh, there's definitely a baby. I touched my stomach. But it's not yours. The truth hit him like a physical blow. He staggered, gripping a box for support. Liam? Does it matter? You were too busy with Vivian to notice when I stopped taking birth control. The words tasted like victory. Too focused on your perfect plan to realize I was making one of my own. You vindictive bitch. He straightened, mask finally falling away completely. You really think you can destroy everything I've built? You did that yourself. I pulled out my phone, showed him the screen. Live streaming. Every word, every threat, broadcasting directly to the board of directors. Wave hello, darling. His hand shot out, knocking the phone away. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Actually, I do. I backed toward the door. That's why the FBI is outside. You're lying. Am I? Check your texts. The ones where you threatened Rose. The ones where you planned to frame Nathaniel. The ones detailing every illegal transfer. I smiled. Amazing what a pregnant woman can accomplish when everyone underestimates her. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. I'll tell them you're unstable, he snarled. That you set this all up. Your word against mine. No. Rose's voice came from behind me. She stepped into view, phone raised. It's your word against all of us. Eli's face contorted. He lunged forward, past me, reaching for Rose. I moved without thinking, my body between them, protecting my grandmother like she'd always protected me. The gun in his hand caught the fluorescent light. Journey. Rose screamed. But I didn't move. Go ahead, I told him. Show everyone exactly who you are. His hand shook. You've ruined everything. No, Eli. You did that. I just made sure everyone could see it. The storage unit filled with light as FBI agents swarmed in, weapons drawn. Eli's gun clattered to the ground. As they cuffed him, his eyes locked with mine. I loved you once, he said. No. I touched my stomach again, feeling the baby kick. You loved your reflection in my eyes. There's a difference. They led him away, but I stayed, looking at the boxes of evidence. 3 years of marriage, reduced to paper trails and broken promises. Rose's hand found mine. You okay? I will be. I squeezed her fingers. Did you get it all? She held up her phone, showing the recording of everything, his confession, the gun, all of it. Every second. Outside, I watched them put Eli in a police car. He'd taught me so well, how to lie, how to manipulate, how to destroy. But he'd forgotten the most important lesson. Hell hath no fury like a woman who learns from her enemy's example. The baby kicked again, stronger this time. A fighter, just like its mother. It was finally over. The foundation's brick walls still smelled of fresh paint as I walked through the empty halls. Tomorrow, the Phoenix house would open its doors to women seeking escape, but tonight it belonged to ghosts and memories. My footsteps echoed as I entered what used to be Eli's corporate office, now transformed into a counseling center. The irony wasn't lost on me, the space where he'd plotted destruction would now be used for healing. The baby kicked as I sorted through the last box of his belongings, retrieved from evidence after his conviction. At the bottom, beneath files and photos, I found a leather-bound journal I didn't recognize. Rose's handwriting filled the pages. I found it while packing up my attic, she said from the doorway, making me jump. Your grandfather's journal. The one he kept while planning his escape from my mother. I traced the faded ink. Grandmother. Your grandfather wasn't the only monster I survived. She moved beside me, touching the journal. But he was the one who taught me how to fight back. The pages revealed a familiar pattern: financial records, secret accounts, carefully documented abuse. My grandmother's methodical destruction of her abuser, written in her own hand in the margins of his journal. You knew, I whispered. All along, you knew exactly what I needed to do. I knew you needed to find your own way. She smiled. But I made sure you had the tools. A noise from the hallway drew our attention. Liam appeared, holding a stack of intake forms. First appointments are booked solid for next month. My hand found his as he joined us. The simple gold band on his finger caught the light, not a replacement for what I'd lost with Eli, but something entirely new. Something real. Diana called, he continued. She's bringing 3 women from the support group tomorrow. They want to volunteer. And Vivian? I asked. Witness protection's treating her well. She sent this. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check, her share of Eli's hidden accounts, donated to the foundation. Think he knows? I gestured around the office. That everything he built is being used to help the women he wanted to destroy. He knows. Rose's voice held steel. I made sure the prison sent him the foundation's brochure. The baby kicked again, stronger now. 7 months along, and already fighting. Just like its grandmother. Just like me. Found something else, Liam said, pulling out a letter. From Nathaniel. I took it, recognizing the prison stationery. His testimony had put Eli away, but cost him 18 months for his role in the fraud. He wants to help when he gets out, Liam explained. Says he needs to balance the scales. Don't we all? I murmured. Rose touched my shoulder. You did more than get revenge, Journey. You built something from the ashes. We built it, I corrected, looking between her and Liam. All of us. I placed Eli's journal on the shelf beside Rose's, 2 testimonies of survival spanning generations. Tomorrow, other women would add their stories, their strength, their victories. Ready to go home? Liam asked. Almost. I walked to the window, watching the sunset paint the city gold. Somewhere in a prison cell, Eli was watching the same sun, perhaps finally understanding what he'd created, not a victim, but a phoenix. The baby kicked once more, reminding me that some endings are really beginnings in disguise. I touched my grandmother's journal one last time, feeling the weight of inheritance, not of trauma, but of triumph. Now I'm ready. We left the office together, our footsteps echoing with purpose. Tomorrow, these halls would fill with voices, with hope, with the sound of women reclaiming their power. Each one would carry their own story of betrayal and survival. But tonight, in the quiet, I finally understood, revenge wasn't about destroying Eli. It was about rebuilding myself into someone he could never break again. The Phoenix House stood ready, waiting to help others do the same.